Let's bring it back to the one before that. Even though you feel like you can figure most things out and you tend to be right a fair amount of time, you still will say, no, I'll just walk away from it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
My need for no conflict is much greater than my need to be right.
Welcome to Discovering You, where personality meets possibility. I'm your host, Victoria Theriault. On this show, we dive deep into what makes people tick and how understanding that transforms the way we lead, work, and connect. Hi, listeners. Hi, Heather.
Hi there.
What color is your mood today?
My mood is yellow. My word today is exhilarated. In high spirits, cheerful, and invigorated.
Oh my gosh, that's quite a word.
What's your color?
Well, I think we are opposite. I'm in the blue today, and my word is tired, feeling like you need to rest. Just being really busy, burning candle at both ends, lots of late nights trying to cram a bunch of stuff in. So it's weird. It's not like I necessarily feel unpleasant because I know blue is supposed to also be a little bit on the unpleasant side, but just more so tired. And then you just told me right before this, you just told me a sentimental animal story.
Sorry about that. I should have known better.
And then I started crying.
We haven't seen each other for a while.
I know.
And I didn't think that through.
And to be clear, because listeners who know I'm an HSP and can't handle anything sad, it wasn't necessarily sad. It was sweet and sentimental. That's what did it. I'm still recovering from my little mini cry. Well, speaking of emotions, we're going to be talking about conflict today. But first, the Academy Awards are coming up. So you know what this means. Here's DISC as Oscar-nominated films. For High D, one battle after another. It's high-stake conflict, intense energy. High I is F1, fun and thrilling. High S is Hamnet, familial relationships, emotional depth. And high C is the secret agent, layered details, and deductive reasoning. Which one do you think will win? Also, peek behind the curtain, we are recording this a bit early. Right now, currently, the odds makers are showing that Sinners, which I didn't use, is in the lead, followed by One Battle After Another and Hamnet. So we'll see. Back to our topic. We're looking at conflict management styles today. Most of this content is based on the work of Dr. Ralph Kilman. He identifies 5 styles in his assessment model called the TKI, so Thomas-Kilmann Instrument, if you want to check it out. The conflict model that he maps out, it looks fairly similar to the DISC behavioral model. So it's, if you can picture the 4 quadrants and the axis, actually also similar to the mood meter, which we always start off with. Although for this one, there are 5 styles. The last one is kind of plopped in the middle. So the 5 styles are competing, collaborating, accommodating, avoiding, compromising. As we love to do here, we did a quick assessment to determine our own styles. And I asked Heather to guess hers based solely on the titles before doing it. And I did the same thing. So do you think we predicted right? We'll find out. The assessment we did is 15 questions, but here's a short sample to show you what it's like. Number 1, when there is a disagreement, I gather as much information as I can, and I keep the lines of communication open. So your options to answer are rarely, sometimes, often, and always. So the scale goes from 1 to 4. For this one, I answered 3, meaning I gather information and I keep lines of communication open quite often, I would say. What did you answer for this one, Heather?
I answered 3.
Oh, we got the same. Good for us. This question was probing for levels of the collaborating conflict style. Question number 2. I can figure out what needs to be done, and I am usually right. I had to be honest, and I gave myself a 2 here, meaning I do this sometimes. Not perfect.
So I also gave myself a 2, but I kind of did that because I can figure out what needs to be done, but doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. I don't need to be right. I just felt like I could figure things out. That's kind of why I picked 2 instead of 1.
Right. I know. I had a similar thought to that. Well, actually, if I'm honest, it's more on the being right part.
Yeah, so mine isn't, but I feel like I'm good at figuring things out.
Yes, I think you are too. This one was checking for the competing style. All right, number 3. When I find myself in an argument, I usually say very little and I try to leave as soon as possible. On this one, I answered 1, which is rarely.
I answered 4 on this one.
Oh, wow. We are so
Yeah.
completely opposite on this one.
I don't like to argue. That is kind of my MO.
Let's bring it back to the one before that. Even though you feel like you can figure most things out and you tend to be right a fair amount of time, you still will say, no, I'll just walk away from it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay.
My need for no conflict is much greater than my need to be right.
Okay. I'm just taking that in. That's different for me. And I've gotten better at this as I've worked on it, the needing to be right part. And then I would probably say, I don't know if I need to be right versus I think I've put the research and the effort and the experience to know I'm right. But that sounds not always though. Listen, I know my stuff in my lanes.
Well, and that's it too, right?
Yeah. I certainly would not feel confident just being that. Like I know people and you know people that kind of have a strong opinion about every single thing and think they're right, even if that's not necessarily their realm. Definitely not for me or you. I know that.
Yep.
All right. So that one was probing for the avoiding conflict mode. So we'll probably get into that in a sec. Okay. Number 4, I try to meet the wishes of my friends and family. I chose 3, which is often. Sophia disagrees with me on that. She thinks I'm kidding myself. She thinks I should say always.
That's good.
I think it's tied into my later in life realization that I have been a people pleaser, but not necessarily in the ways that were obvious to me. So for instance, let's say if we look at my energy and what drains me being an HSP and an introvert, I think doing things to please people that I should quote be able to do, like they can hang out for this amount of time with this many different cross-talking noises, loud sounds, smells. Why can't I? Now I think the reason I was explaining to Sophia that I did not give myself the always is now I'm better at saying, oh no, I can't, I can't go there. I can't, the smell will be too strong. I am now being able to do that, which is why I didn't feel I should give myself a 4.
Well, and I would take it to be more of a high S thing. Like you're just more compassionate than some.
What did you pick?
I also picked 3.
Okay.
For different reasons though, I think. Again, if I can make things easier for people and then it avoids
conflict.
Conflict.
Are we doing we're doing a loopy-loop here, circle.
I don't think I'm a people pleaser because I want people to think I'm nice or anything like that. I would say this topic is interesting to me because conflict is a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a high S. I don't necessarily think I'm trying to meet people's needs because I have compassion and empathy and whatever. I think I want to do it more so I don't get in trouble.
Okay. That's interesting. That's like your high C part of your profile. This one was gauging accommodating style. Finally, number 5, I prefer to compromise when solving problems and just move on. I said 2 for this, which is sometimes. What about you?
I said 3 again. Yeah, I like to move on.
So this was probing the final style, which is compromising. When I added up all the scores, my highest style is collaborating. And then it's followed by a tie for accommodating and compromising. And then my lowest ones are also in a tie, competing and avoiding. So almost like the polar opposites of each other are both on the low one. So clearly competing and avoiding are not my go-tos. What is your main conflict management style?
It's probably fairly obvious, but my main conflict style is avoiding. And then the second and third are tied with accommodating and compromising.
Right.
And then my bottom 2 are collaborating and competing it's my very bottom by far. So the 3 in the middle kind of are similar scores. And then avoiding is obviously my most and competing is obviously my least.
What did you predict? I was sort of torn and I didn't even really read the descriptions. I just read the name. And so I did predict that I would probably have the collaborative, but I also thought I might have had accommodating. I wasn't sure which way that was going to go. And, fairly accurate. I think when I read the questions on accommodating, I was like, oh, I probably have a little bit more boundaries and things these days, so maybe not as high. What about you? Did you guess correctly? Did you guess that avoidant would be your number one?
So I did the same thing. I wasn't sure if I was avoiding or accommodating. And again, I didn't read the descriptions. I just read the names and I was like, I'm pretty good at avoiding conflict. That's kind of my thing. But often I think, I'll just accommodate because it's not a hill I need to die on typically.
Yeah.
Which I guess they were my top two. So I was close.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be fun. That's why I asked you. I was like, just look at the words. And that was the same thing with me. So I think we both sort of guessed mostly right.
Yeah.
But let's not tease about it anymore. Let's get into what these styles mean and what the words mean. And listeners, if you want to try this full assessment for yourself, we will link it in the show notes for you. As with so many platforms that we discuss on here, whatever your style is, it's not going to be an all or nothing scenario. So there are times where certain conflict styles are going to be more appropriate than others, and we can access them and we can bump it up or down according to the circumstances. I want to try and paint a visual picture for you to envision the conflict behavioral model. So if you think of 5 boxes inside a square with a vertical and horizontal axis intersecting it, the vertical axis represents assertiveness and the horizontal represents cooperation. The boxes on the top half are high in assertiveness. The boxes on the bottom half are lower in assertiveness. And then we have the one that straddles the middle, which is moderate levels of assertiveness. The boxes on the left side are low in cooperation, and the ones on the right side are high. And then the one in the middle is moderate. If we start at the top left, we have the competing conflict style. This sits in the area where assertiveness is high and cooperation is low. I don't think it's a coincidence that the top left is where high D sits in the DISC behavioral model. So the competing style involves pursuing one's own concerns, using whatever power seems necessary to win their position. They seek to accomplish their goals, even at the cost of interpersonal relationships. Their focus is on achieving results, and this is more important to them than being liked. Fundamental to this approach is the belief that their side has the more important view and should take precedence, combined with the perception that what the other person wants is mutually exclusive, meaning if one thing happens, the other can't. An example statement for this style would be, only one of us can win, and it better be me.
I feel like that in life, but not in conflict.
That's so interesting. We're going to have to do a deeper dive on this for you, Heather.
Yeah.
So one source that I was referencing uses animals to characterize the different conflict styles. And in this case, they used a shark. And for those of you who know me well, yikes, I have a huge fear of sharks. So sharks may try to force opponents to accept their solution to the conflict by overpowering them. Now, remember I mentioned that there are situations or times where having certain conflict style may be more advantageous. This style can be effective when quick decisions are needed. So let's say it's an emergency situation, or when unpopular actions need to be implemented, such as cost cutting or enforcing rules. So again, how did this conflict style land for us? As I said, for me, it was tied for the bottom, which is good because I'm afraid of sharks. And Heather, same for you. This was at the bottom for you too. Moving on to the next conflict management style, which is collaborating. In the diagram, this is located in the top right section where high assertiveness and high cooperation meet. This conflict mode involves working with the other party to find a solution that satisfies the concerns of both. It entails delving into the underlying factors behind each person's reasons so that an alternative solution can be found. The collaborating style views conflict as a problem to be solved and a way to improve relationships by reducing tensions between the people involved. This style values both goals and relationships. An example statement from this conflict style would be, I think we can work together to our mutual benefit. The animal that is used to express this style is the owl. Yay, I love owls. The collaborating approach is helpful when the quality of the solution, as well as the buy-in, are critical. So this mode encourages creative problem solving and the integration of multiple perspectives. It can also generate solutions that are more durable long term. Disc-wise, I think this one is a combination of high S and high C. Not surprising, as collaborating is my number one conflict management style. And Heather, for you, it was
my second last one.
Okay, second last. Okay, the third type is accommodating. Visually, this one is on the bottom right of the model at the intersection of low assertiveness but high cooperation. So it shows up as putting the needs of others before your own. There is a little bit of self-sacrifice in this one. People with this style prioritize interpersonal connections over objectives. They will often set aside their goals in order to preserve relationships. They prefer to avoid conflict if possible because they worry about the implications it may have. A sample phrase of theirs would be, "Okay, fine, we'll do it your way." Heather's nodding here, so we'll get to that in a second. The animal for this one is a teddy bear. Cute and appropriate. They try to smooth over conflict and provide comfort. While this style doesn't always sound ideal, it can be beneficial when you're in a sensitive situation and where maintaining harmony is crucial. I think that the disc factors that best align here are high I and high S. They are both more relationship than results driven. For me, this one was tied for second place. And Heather, remind me, where was this for you?
This was also second place for me.
Okay. Next up, we have avoiding on the bottom left. This is a combination of low assertiveness and low cooperation.
That makes it sound bad.
This type attempts to avoid the conflict altogether or putting it off to be handled at a future time or another person. It's not always a conscious choice. Sometimes it's more of an automatic response, perhaps if the person lacks confidence in taking that more assertive approach. Avoidance styles focus on avoiding the confrontation more than either their goals or relationships. That's the priority. They feel that it's easier to withdraw from a conflict than to face it. I got lots of nods going on here. So a quote from them would be something like, can we talk about this some other time? The animal representation for this one is a turtle. I think you get the picture, but I love turtles. Okay, so what situation could this style be useful in? If there's a trivial issue and there's really no chance of winning, or when the potential fallout of confronting the conflict outweighs the benefits of the resolution, then yes. And for this one, I think that high I is most like this style. For me, again, this was tied for the lowest. And then we know for Heather, this was...
Yeah, this was number one for me.
How do you feel hearing more of the description of it?
Well, it doesn't sound good, but I also think for me, the part that makes sense is like, it's not a hill I'm going to die on. I'm going to walk away. If it's something that's really important, I'll probably lean more to the accommodating because it needs to be talked about. And also, I think as I get older and as I get the more work we do through all of these things.
Sure.
You have talked me through multiple situations where I was going to be like, never mind, I'm just done and going to go the other direction. And so I'm curious 6 months from now, if I take it again, would I switch? I feel like I am starting to like, instead of running from conflict, I'm sitting in it a little bit longer. Well, and I recognize that that's maybe not the healthiest way to deal with things.
But you know what? Again, to this point of nothing being a perfect style, nothing being a terrible style, one of the things that when I'm hearing it from you, it's interesting. And you've said, I'm not going to die on this hill. In some ways, I think that is healthy because let's look at the opposite of people who will not let something go and they'll keep at it and they'll keep at it. And to what end? So I think the fact that you can look at it and say, at the end of the day, is this going to matter? And then just sort of walk away from it. It doesn't actually seem that bad or unhealthy to me.
I do think on some level, I'm now recognized, whether it's introversion or whatever, but sometimes I need to protect my energy.
Yeah.
And so I have to be really conscious about like where I'm going to put a ton of energy into a conflict and where I'm not going to.
Totally. So see, there's a advantage of it right there.
Yeah. And I do think I need work. I'm not going to lie. I do think and work done is probably somewhere I need to put some effort.
Okay. No argument. All right. So the fifth and final conflict management style is compromising. And this one is located smack in the middle of the diagram, which indicates moderate assertiveness and moderate cooperation. The objective in this style is to negotiate a mutually acceptable solution that partially satisfies both parties. That's an interesting distinction there versus the one that was collaborative, right? This type is moderately concerned with both their goals and their relationships with others. They'll give up part of their goals and persuade the other person maybe to give up part of theirs too. They seek a solution where both sides gain something, but also are willing to sacrifice part of the objective in order to gain that agreement for the common good. And an example statement from the compromising style would be, can we meet in the middle on this? The animal that represents this one is a fox. I didn't really see that one coming.
Oh, interesting.
Right? I guess because they're smart / sly, right? Maybe like, okay, well, like, I'll do this if you'll do this. Like, do you think? Not that I know that much about foxes, but I know it's always like smart fox, smart as a fox, sly as a fox. I don't know. The compromising approach is helpful when a quick middle ground solution is needed. So not necessarily perfect, but that both sides feel is reasonably fair. Disc-wise, I can kind of see I, S, and C for this one. So basically all of them except for a D. But in fairness, I'm sure D can do this sometimes. And, it's interesting to note that only the collaborating and compromising styles take the approach of finding a win-win for both. The others are more of a zero-sum mindset where one side must win and the other lose. So I find that intriguing to look at it that way, right? There you have it. Listeners, you can do it. And do you feel comfortable with your highest style? I do.
I feel comfortable that it's right. I'm comfortable that I'm like that, but I think that's just a growth thing too. Can you change?
For sure. Absolutely. So now that you said that, remember, first of all, one type is not necessarily better than another. As we've seen, there are situations and there'll be pros and cons, and sometimes the pros of one will win out over the cons. And the goal of doing this assessment is that what this is doing is it's helping you to identify your typical response to conflict so that when you encounter it in the future, you'll be aware of that instinctive reaction, but also what the strengths and challenges of that reaction are in the situation. And then I think if you're just being mindful about it, maybe then that will guide you to choose a different management style, and that will help you, achieve the best outcome. So absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, well, that is all for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. This show is a Twisted Spur media production produced by our very own Heather McPherson. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.